Hey, today I'm talking about 3 Stephen Chow films, and the names of those 3 films are Kung Fu Hustle, Shaolin Soccer, and The Mermaid. Our first up is Kung Fu Hustle. Look, it's a movie I actually own. That's fun. I didn't actually watch this copy of it though. This is a 2004 film, and I vividly remember people convincing me to go see it by saying it's basically a live-action Looney Tune. And that is really a perfect description of what this movie is. And I remember when it came out, crazy loving it. Like, it was the exact vibe of what I wanted. I found it so hilarious, and the story was interesting, and it worked for me on so many levels back when I was 14 years old. Well, now at 31, it didn't quite work as well for me. The basic premise is it takes place in this essentially a slum, which is like a big apartment complex community of poor people, and there's this axe gang going around harassing people, and they get offended by some people at the apartment complex, and they get into like a turf war basically. And there's lots of kung fu action that's very Looney Tunes-esque. The Looney Tunes stuff I still appreciated, but it just didn't really scratch an itch in the way it used to. It kind of just felt a little too ridiculous for me now. I don't think it's that like I've matured or anything. I just think it's more so that like my tastes have changed over the years. And then like I still appreciate what this movie did, and it's definitely a lot of fun, and I definitely enjoyed myself, but it just didn't quite get to the same highs as it did way back in the day. And there were a few jokes that were definitely offensive. I also vividly remember me finding the bit where a bunch of bullies peed on a kid hilarious when I was a teenager, but as an adult, I was mortified by that joke. Like, that's so messed up. Ugh. So that was interesting. But even with like my complaints, I still enjoyed this movie, and I would still recommend it. It was a good, solid little movie, especially if like you think live action Looney Tunes, kung fu stuff sounds like your vibe. Like, you're definitely gonna enjoy this movie then. Like, it is a good fun time. It just, didn't reach the same highs as before, and that's fine. That happens. It's okay. Still a good movie. Next up is Shaolin Soccer. This is a 2001 movie. Now, I hadn't seen this one, but I did know about it, and everyone talked about it when Kung Fu Hustle came out. I just, for whatever reason, didn't watch it. The basic premise is it's just like an underdog sports story about soccer and soccer players using Kung Fu to their advantage. And it was fine. It's kind of, again, the same thing of just like, it's very cartoonish action humor stuff that just isn't my taste anymore, but I still found the movie interesting, and a lot of the kung fu stuff that wasn't CG a lot of fun, and the story was definitely interesting, though I was a bit confused by the love interest story, especially just how her face got better, because it looked like her face was covered in boils, like someone threw boiling water on her and then her skin bubbled up. But it's not that, because her face gets better as the movie goes on, and I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, so yeah, it's cute, it's fun. If you are a big fan of Kung Fu Hustle, this is also worth a watch. But if I was only going to recommend just one Stephen Chow film, it would be Kung Fu Hustle, not this. This is still good, it's fun, it's fine, but it's just, doesn't quite get the same highs as the other one. And lastly is The Mermaid. This is a 2016 film, and the only one of these 3 to not actually feature Stephen Chow as one of the actors in the film. So this one had a really high Rotten Tomatoes score, and I really don't know why. I really did not care for this movie. The basic premise is these greedy billionaires are destroying the world's oceans, and a bunch of mermaids are affected by this, and so they go on land and plot to murder some of the billionaires. Now, I can totally get behind the premise of this movie. I definitely appreciate what this movie is going for. It's very, environmental, eco-friendly type of stuff, and the screw billionaires vibe, which I liked. But man, I really didn't care for this movie. Like, 3 jokes landed for me out of the entire film. The visual effects were, I would say, almost worse than his previous films, even though it came out like 12 years after. Just weird, and I did not connect act to it. Or the characters. I appreciated that they actually had female characters that weren't just love interests. They did more stuff. That was nice. But the main actress wasn't good. She really couldn't act. So yeah, I didn't like this movie and I don't recommend it. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Kung Fu Hustle sitting at number 86 in the quite like section. And then not too terribly far behind is Shaolin Soccer sitting at number 106 in the liked section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is The Mermaid sitting at number 146 in the didn't like section. And this is out of a total of 168 old movies so far this year.